Hey all, Bill again. A cold, rainy Friday evening in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm adding in the next piece that I'm using to hide the seam when I put the two pieces of the layout together. You can see over here on this side I added a bunch of foliage and a little line of small trees. That lines up with some clump foliage that is over by the fuel depot. So you've seen that on the last video. But for here, I'm adding a walkway that's going to cross from the small station, which in my layout is basically where the workers come in. So workers for the railroad yard and workers for the industrial area also use the station. For them to get safely across all the tracks, I'm putting in a boardwalk. So right now, pieces of it are in, and they are being glued down with white glue. So if I ever need to change it, I can do that. You can see how I'll have it in between the tracks. Pull that back so it's not such a glare. And I'll do that all the way across so that I've got a continuous boardwalk that gets to the other side. And you can see right there how it'll kind of look on the end with. All right, about 45 minutes later, and I have most of it in place. At least what I'm going to do, I am going to do like a wood platform up around the station, but not necessarily do that right now. So what I'm going to do is let this dry. I used full strength white glue, and I will kind of keep nudging stuff in position. Places like that where it looks like it narrows for the approaching rails, I will trim out with an X-Acto knife once that glue dries completely. So I'm not going to really do a whole lot more with it tonight. I'm going to let it all set and then give it some stain and paint tomorrow. And pull the other piece together and just see if it's going to work for me. Well, I got a little impatient and painted and weathered and added a little bit more scenic detail just right along the boardwalk here. So now I'm going to let it dry before I do anything else. Well, did I say I was impatient? I'm very impatient. Well, here it is. This is about 10 minutes later when I said I was going to let everything dry. It's dry enough. And actually, I'm glad that I did put it together. I found that I had one little spot like right in here where I had to kind of cut a little bit, and down here as well, just a little bit. So pulling it together, no problem. It works exactly like what I wanted it to. The seam is hidden in this area. It's an effective little walkover that looks pretty realistic. I still have to finish scenery on this side of the layout to kind of get rid of the little bit pieces of pink, and I can put some guys on this, and I'm going to do probably like a little fence with a lot of grass, some poles and some other stuff right there to hide that piece of the seam. Otherwise, I think I've got it pretty well hidden. I've got the row of trees and shrubs separating the fuel oil facility from the repair shops. This boardwalk coming from the station hides the vast majority of that seam that comes across. Still have a little bit more work to do down there. And then another group of trees and shrubs and overgrowth kind of along the fence line hides the seam between the station and the coal company that's sitting over in here. So all in all, I think that's going to work. It was not hard to pull the layout together. I have two toggle bolts with the big plastic wing nuts. Bolts are long enough that I can get my holes centered. I get the bolts through, use the toggles, and actually then slowly pull the layout together, which pulls the track right in between the boardwalk here, and I'm good to go. So I'm a happy camper, and it's only Friday night. I'm going to get a bunch of stuff done this weekend, I think. All right, take care all.